Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be talking all about aspects in astrology. What are they and how do you use them? What do they mean? Stay tuned because we are going to get into it. But before we do, make sure that you subscribe, hit that like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks, guide, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. All the links to these products will be in the description box down below. And if you want a new video early, ad-free, plus PDF guides and daily forecasts, head on over to my Patreon. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over there for all of your support. As always, I hope you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Okay, so first things first, make sure you watch the Degrees in Astrology video for more information, because that video will help you piece together the information presented in this video. So what do I mean by aspects? Aspects in your chart show the relationships between the planets. So how do Mercury and Venus communicate with one another, for example? Do they get on harmoniously or disharmoniously? Or how about your sun and moon signs? Maybe you're someone who has the moon in Scorpio in your chart, but you were born during Aquarius season. This then would mean that there's a square aspect between the sun and moon in your chart. Sure, this might not be by degree, which is why it's pretty important to watch the Degrees video, but this would still be by sign, therefore suggesting a type of discord, conflict, or tension between how you express yourself versus how you share your emotions. Maybe you were born during a last quarter moon, which would also tell you something about yourself. Now, this is not to say that such an aspect is bad or negative. This simply means that there are challenges here. But you see, the beauty of astrology is that we can identify challenges in our lives and within ourselves, of course, and we can address them. We can make some effort to overcome them. We can learn from them or turn them into a strength that actually strengthens us. Though another thing I do want to mention before we go over the aspects is that aspects also have something to tell us about synodic cycles. As mentioned in the Degrees video, synodic cycles refer to the relationship between any two planets. I look at synodic cycles as a type of dance. A type of dance that the planets perform together. What is the dance, for example, between Mars and Jupiter? Perhaps it's an energetic one, right? It's one of victory, singing, we will rock you. Or, we are the champions, my friend. Notice how these songs are much different to the music played during a dance between Venus and Saturn. I'm imagining a slow dance to I wanna grow old with you. I wanna die lying in your arms. How romantic, right? But you see, aspects point to the steps, right? The beats, the rhythms, the stages within the dance. Maybe there are times when the person you're dancing with is across the dance floor. Or there are times when you pull them in super close. You could look at this as them being across a room from you as an opposition, but then when they're really close, as a conjunction. Or maybe there are times when you make a mistake or there is a moment of shared awkwardness, like, Thinking even about the dance here between Chiron and Pluto, well, that's a dance with a lot of soul, okay? Perhaps sad and heartbreaking as you dance to an emotional song like In the Arms of an Angel. Or maybe there are moments when it feels like a certain part of you it's out of reach and you can't quite access it. You hear the music, but you're not quite sure of how to move your feet, right? The dance even between Neptune and Mercury, for instance, asks us to feel into the music rather than trying so hard to count our steps or to perform the dance perfectly. I imagine a Mercury-Neptune dance being to the song Fireflies by Owl City. You know the one. You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. All right, so with that being said, let's move on to the aspects. There are 5 major aspects in astrology. These aspects were defined and used by Ptolemy in the 1st century AD, and so these 5 traditional major aspects are sometimes called Ptolemaic aspects, and these are as follows: the conjunction, 0 degrees, the sextile, 60 degrees, the square, 90 degrees, the trine, 120 degrees, and the opposition, 180 degrees. So I hope you can see from this, more information to do with degrees and why it's important to watch the previous video. Now, the square and opposition are considered to be hard aspects, whilst the sextile and trine are said to be easy aspects. And the conjunction is neither hard nor easy. It really does depend. But you see, there is a rationale. There's a rationale to this. And so we must explore dignities. In ancient times, the sun and moon went to the 2 signs that follow the summer solstice. And so the sun went to Leo and the moon went to Cancer. The sun rules Leo and the moon rules Cancer. A line was then drawn between the sun and moon, dividing the zodiac into 2 hemispheres, creating this mirror-like image between the hemispheres. Leo and Cancer represented the king and queen, the royals. Sun represents spirit and moon represents the body, both having the largest impact on humanity. If you do want more information though about this, do make sure to check out the Hermetic Lots video, because there's more information about spirit and body, which you can explore, and then also look to zodiacal releasing. I've created videos about the Hermetic Lots and about zodiacal releasing. And Mercury represented the government officials on either side of the king and queen, so sort of delivering information to them, being these messengers, right? There's even that neutral quality to Mercury in this respect. Then Venus represented the beauty and the wealth of the royals, right? Looking at their riches. Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. Then Mars represented military and the country's defenses. Mars rules both Aries and Scorpio. Jupiter then represented the preachers, the pastors, the oracles. Jupiter rules both Sagittarius and Pisces. Then lastly, Saturn represented the country systems and regulations. Saturn then rules both Capricorn and Aquarius. And so the idea here is that when it comes to the square and the opposition in your chart, so looking at these aspects, the square has a Mars-like quality to it, showing up as discord, tension, and challenge, whilst the opposition has a Saturn-like quality to it, showing up as struggle and resistance. And so you can perhaps see why these aspects are considered hard, right? And when then looking at the sextile and the trine in your chart, well, the sextile has a Venus-like quality to it, showing up as support and assistance, whilst the trine has a Jupiter-like quality pointing to enhancement and talent. So hopefully you can see why these aspects are considered easy. Though, with that being said, this does not mean that hard aspects are bad or that easy aspects are good. Both sides of this, right? Whether they are hard aspects or easy aspects, both can come with their negative and positive qualities. Though another way to even look at this is through the lens of flow. How do planets flow together? When do they and when do they not? During square and opposition periods, perhaps they don't so much, right? So kind of going back to the dance that's being performed, the square opposition periods can point toward the awkwardness or the missteps or the tension within the dance. But then during sextile and trine periods, there is a greater energy flow. Perhaps during these periods, the rhythm is felt, and the people who are dancing, or if you're just dancing alone, you're able to keep up a lot better. Take Jupiter and Saturn, for example. Saturn is in Pisces and Jupiter is in Taurus right now. They create this sextile aspect in the sky, indicating a much smoother energy flow between the two. Whereas Mercury is in Aquarius, creating a square with Jupiter in Taurus, pointing to a challenging energy flow between these two planets. Distraction is likely, for example, or becoming overwhelmed by thoughts or being overstimulated. But with challenge comes an opportunity to grow, to learn, to overcome. And then on the other hand, with the easier aspects like the sextile between Saturn and Jupiter, for an example, we can become somewhat complacent or lazy. We can take the smoothness and perhaps easiness of the energy for granted. We may not realize how good we have it, right? Though at the same time, this flow can be really helpful and useful, such as big ideas coming to us more easily and then being able to grind them, being able to work on them, to make them practical. Just to clarify though, these transits that I'm talking about as examples, they are based on the 19th of February 2024. Indeed, it seems a little extra effort isn't a bad thing, nor is it a good thing to take our foot off the pedal, expecting all will work out on its own. Astrology teaches us about the beauty of balance. And in order to strive for balance, we must address and be honest about what we can add and what we can take off. So explore the aspects in your chart. How do your natal placements communicate? How do they collaborate? How do they dance together? Are they on the same page? Are they not? And what can you do to help them get on a little bit better? Or maybe there are times when your placements are just too overpowering, right? And you want a break. You need a break. And this right here leads us on to the conjunction. Is it easy? Is it hard? It depends. It really depends on the planets involved. So for example, if Sun and Saturn are conjunct in your chart, or maybe the Moon is conjunct Pluto, these conjunctions can be more challenging when compared to someone who has Jupiter conjunct Venus in their chart, or if they have Moon conjunct Venus even. Naturally though, it does also depend on the signs, it depends on dignities. And also what comes into the equation is having a day versus a night chart. In simple terms, if your sun is above the horizon, you have a day chart. If it's below the horizon, you have a night chart. Typically, just want to say that, typically, not always. If you have a night chart, a Sun-Saturn conjunction for night chart folks can be relatively difficult. But if you have a day chart, then a Sun-Mars conjunction can be more difficult for you. Then again, if you have a night chart, the Venus-Neptune conjunction might be more pleasing, or if you have a day chart, a Jupiter-Moon conjunction can be quite rewarding. Moreover, conjunctions are viewed as dynamic, powerful, and strong. They are said to be stronger than other aspects. And if you have planets conjunct by the minute, this is particularly powerful and worth paying attention to. There are even these things called Cazimis, which involves the sun. A Cazimi happens whenever the sun is conjunct another planet within 16 minutes. According to, I will insert the names here, a planet is considered to be in the heart as soon as it comes within 16 minutes of a conjunction with the sun. However, the lead up to a Cazimi is said to be challenging. When a planet is close in conjunction with the sun, especially within 15 degrees, it is said to be weakened. This is because the light of the planet is being overpowered by the light of the sun, as if the sun is burning the planet. This is said then to be exhausting. But when the sun and the other planet reach a Cazimi, right? So thinking about this, the 16 minutes here, this is when the sun can no longer harm the planet. Cazimis are significant and they represent new beginnings. They point to a new cycle, the start of a new cycle. And this is the same when it comes to conjunctions, just in general. Conjunctions point to beginnings and endings in the chart, especially when we refine it down to the very minute, right? They can be rather impactful. For instance, we experienced the Pluto, or we have been experiencing during February 2024, this Pluto conjunction with Mars and Venus, ushering in a new cycle. A new innovative and transformative beginning with relation to our relationships, our values, our actions, and our drives. And then Venus and Mars also create a conjunction, further adding to this story, whilst also welcoming further growth and change. It's useful then to look to your Aquarius house during this time to see how this might play out for you. And this leads me on to something important when it comes to exploring aspects. Do make sure that you look and see if you have any natal placements which are activated by your transits. There is a relationship between your natal placements, so looking to the aspects there. But there's also a relationship between the transits. And so it's seeing how these two lines of communication interact with one another, how they overlap. Sort of imagine it as if you're in a crowded room, okay? There is more than just you in that room, and there are all sorts of conversations going on. You might hear a few people talking about one thing over here, or a couple chatting about something completely different over here. And what we typically do as humans is we hear what is going on around us, or we can relate it back to us in some way. We pick up ideas from others, or we might join in on a conversation. So when looking at your chart, let's say you have a few Pisces placements. Well, the sun has just entered Pisces as of the 18th of February, 19th of February, around that time. And so the sun will conjunct your Pisces placements over the next coming weeks. Therefore, there is a conversation happening there, a type of frequency. And such vibrations show up physically within your everyday life. And I also want to add that if you have planetary conjunctions in your chart, these planets come as a package. So let's say you're someone like me and you have a stellium of planets in a sign. A stellium means 3 or more planets in a sign. If these planets are conjunct by degree, these planets then come as a package, sort of like a Lego set. You're building these bricks and the bricks create one thing. And the closer they are by degree, the more significant they are. If they're not conjunct by degree though, they're still conjunct by sign. Also, before we move on, orbs are very important when it comes to aspects as well, though do make sure that you watch the degrees video for information about orbs. But really, orbs in a nutshell looks at the margin of influence between planets. So for instance, let's say that you have Mars making a square to Venus in your chart, right? So the square is 90 degrees, but maybe they are apart by 93 degrees. So what you're doing is you are involving that 3 degree into it. That would be a 3 degree orb, but the closer they are by degree, the more impactful they're gonna be. Another thing I do want to mention here is the great conjunctions. Great conjunctions occur when 2 of the slowest classical planets, which are Jupiter and Saturn, when they conjunct, when they join forces. We actually experienced a great conjunction recently in the sign of Aquarius, and that conjunction occurred December 2020. And to think that Pluto is now in Aquarius following that same path, adding to the great conjunction story, pretty fascinating. It's also why it's important to look at degrees, because you can see what is up ahead. You can see how the story unfolds when it comes to the path of certain celestial bodies. It's so interesting. So when a planet will enter a certain sign, when it will exit a particular sign, degrees really help with timing. And great conjunctions occur every 20 years or so. All right, so having explored the 5 Ptolemaic aspects, what happens when 2 or more planets are not configured by these major aspects? When this happens, the planets are said to be in aversion. The aversion is either 30 or 150 degrees. What this essentially means is that 2 or more planets feel isolated from one another. They don't really have much in common. They find it hard to relate. The dance between these planets it's quite difficult, I suppose you could say. So because the planets cannot see each other, we notice blind spots. It may feel like as one planet dances to a certain melody, the other planet is dancing to a completely different melody. And this further suggests that houses 2, 6, 8, and 12 are quite challenging houses in the chart. Again though, aversion does not mean bad. Challenging, yes, but such planets can be worked on. It might be useful then to see if you have any planets in houses 2, 6, 8, or 12. They would not be configured by any planets you have in the 1st or 7th houses. But what about modern aspects? In modern astrology, aspects that are not a part of the 5 major Ptolemaic aspects are called minor aspects. Johannes Kepler described 13 aspects in his book. I'll just insert the book's title here. And in this book, Kepler discusses harmony and concurrence, that was a new word for me, in geometrical forms and physical phenomena. Astrological data was grouped together in 5 degrees of influentially. These were then chosen from symbol ratios seen in geometry and music. Now, without making things too confusing and overwhelming, it's good to maybe look into this for yourself. The aspects Kepler invented include 18 degrees, 24 degrees, 30 degrees, 36 degrees, 45 degrees, 72 degrees, 108 degrees, 135 degrees, 144 degrees, and 150 degrees. And the idea is that these degrees look at harmonics, which is a whole other area to look into within astrology. Though I am pretty sure that astrologer Rick Levine specializes in harmonic aspects, so you can look more into his work. Still, when it comes to the minor aspects, many astrologers will use the semi-sextile, which is 30 degrees, the semi-square, which is 45 degrees, the sesqui-square, which is 135 degrees, and the inconjunction, which is 150 degrees. I also think the quintile 72 degrees and the biquintile 144 degrees can be quite useful. As for the others though, I have not looked into these, but do feel free to do your own research. In simple terms, let's look at these minor aspects. The semi-sextile tends to look at adjustments and fine-tuning. The semi-square can show up as blocks, challenges, and endurance. The sesqui-square indicates tension, difficulty, and pushing oneself. And the inconjunction points to separations, diversions, and redirections. And as for the quintile and biquintile, these aspects signify talents and gifts, but we must build on them, okay? We can create order from them and work on them as well. So, When you look at your own chart, consider the aspects. Do you have many major aspects or minor aspects? What is the dance between your personal planets? And how do the positions of the planets in real time relate to your natal planets? Then again, maybe you're someone like me who has a stellium, this cluster of planets in one sign, one particular area in the chart. And this is why it's important to explore aspect patterns and shapes. What are they? We will explore this in the next video, which you can gain early access to by becoming a patron. Okay then, Cosmic Warrior, so that concludes my video talking all about aspects. Please let me know if you found this video to be helpful. Did you learn something new? I would really appreciate your feedback, and like you, I'm always learning, and you can find the sources I used in this video in the description box. Again, thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video in the comment section. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very soon. Bye.